Hi plant friends, it's almost the end of summer. I've got an end of summer Hoya update for you. Let's get into it. First, I'm going to start with the Hoyas that are hiding behind my TV. Hoya obovata variegata has been so good to me this summer. She's in bloom with one peduncle and two more on the way, and her vine is lengthening. She's so beautiful and fragrant too. It's a light chocolatey scent, not as strong as the Hoya compacta, just a light pleasant smell. If you're able to get your hands on one of these, definitely get one. This beauty did nothing for almost 1 year, and this summer she's just been growing like crazy. She's working on 3 elbow leaves and a second branching with a nice tendril. I'm hoping to see lots of new leaves over the winter, or if she goes dormant, pick up where she left off next summer. This beauty has grown all this tendril over the summer. It's absolutely amazing. And she's having some tiny little branches on this tendril, which I'm quite happy about because this Hoya carrii did not do anything for 1 year. At first I thought this trellis would be a little bit too big for her, but these new little branches are giving me lots of hope that this trellis will be filled out by next summer. My Hoya carnosa is also working on some new branches. She's vined out quite nicely and working on some peduncles too. Look at this little tiny one here, and she's got another one in the back. Hopefully they'll develop before winter or start to produce flowers next summer. We'll see. Let's watch and see how this goes. Look at that peduncle. Wow, look at the sun stressing on this Hoya sunrise. It's absolutely gorgeous. Now she's in a nice sunny spot. She's getting sun all morning. It's about noon and you can see it's quite sunny in the spot she's in, and she's loving it. She's got some new growth at the bottom, so I'm hoping in no time she'll be able to fill out this trellis. Hoya Matilde has grown so much this summer. At first it was 2 little cuttings, then I add 2 more, and it's nicely filling out this trellis. You know what? I'm thinking by next summer I might have to propagate this beauty. I guess there'll be plants for friends and family. I picked up this Hoya Lacanosa Silver about 5 months ago, and I'm loving the color on this one. The silvery leaves are absolutely stunning. A must-have in your collection, a wonderful find. That's it for the Hoyas that are hiding behind my TV in the living room. Let's take a look at the Hoyas in my bedroom. Isn't this absolutely gorgeous? It's just a nice little jungle in my own personal space. I absolutely enjoy looking at these plants every day when I wake up. Let's start in the back with Hoya mendorensis. This one is the yellow flower variety, and I'm so happy I put this one on a large trellis. This vine grew over the summer and it's absolutely gorgeous. She's got a few of those tiny little branches on this vine, so I'm hoping she's gonna fill out this trellis quite nicely. It's gonna be impressive when this one blooms. This is my backup Hoya compacta. I love the Hoya compacta. I love the blooms. The chocolatey smell is absolutely gorgeous. I paid $5 for this little beauty, and not bad for a little insurance. Just in case something happens to one of your plants, you've got a backup. Hoya Lacanosa is a new one for me. I've only had her for 2 months, but over the 2 months she's shot out some new leaves, which is just fantastic. Her pot is so nice and full. I can't wait for this baby to bloom. If she does multiple blooms, it's going to be amazing. This one's doing so good. I got 2 cuttings of the Hoya Kentiana back in January. I potted her up with the 2 cuttings, and then I thought, you know what, instead of just having 2 cuttings, I would actually snip in between the nodes and create multiple plants, and cross my fingers that it would take off, and it sure did. It's looking beautiful. I also received some cuttings for the regular Hoya Kentiana. These are fresh cuttings, so they're still trying to get propagated in the pot. I'm hoping they pull through and really fill up this pot even more. Hoya Bella is just absolutely gorgeous. I'm really loving the variegation on these leaves. It's an easy plant to care for, but you know what? I haven't received any blooms yet. Plant friends, if you know how to make these plants bloom, comment below and let me know what your secret is. But without blooms, I'm still enjoying the leaves. They're so beautiful. Hoya Macrophylla Pot of Gold is such a little gem to me. I actually don't want to move the plant or disturb her. I just want her to sit there, look beautiful, and grow lots of leaves. Her variegation is absolutely stunning. I can't wait for this plant to vine out even more. This Hoya elliptica is fairly new as well. I've only had her for 1 month, and I trellised her out because she was just getting out of control. These plants really grow quite nicely. If you're able to get your hand on an elliptica, definitely get one. They're quite easy to take care of as well. They're thinner leaf, so you need to make sure that they're well watered. Don't let them dry out at all. Last weekend I was at Vandermeer Nurseries and I saw even better Hoya elliptica. This one's quite full, lots of tendril. It's actually getting into all of the plants, so I really need to trellis up this beauty quite soon. Look at these leaves. The plant also had a nice little peduncle on it. I'm hoping the peduncle does not bloom. It'd be a nice bonus to get some blooms on this beauty soon. Recently, I featured this Hoya pubicalyx on one of my Wax Plant Wednesday videos. I received it as a cutting, I've potted her up, and she's doing quite nicely. After the repotting, she's had no setbacks. These leaves are so gorgeous. I'm loving the splashing. Hoya multiflora is a new plant for me. I actually thought it doesn't require a lot of water, and then I discovered it needs a lot of water. I need to up the water on this beauty. She's looking a bit stressed. Look at the sun stressing on this Hoya sigillatus. The color is so stunning. There's almost no green on this plant, and I keep her in this nice sunny window, and I believe she's loving it, and she's rewarding me with this nice beautiful leaves. Hoya numeroides Yellow Corona is a new one for me. I just purchased her on the weekend. I repotted her into a clay pot, and she's in my chunky media, well draining. So I'm hoping she enjoys this. I see some new growth in the bottom there, so I'm hoping they take off, and hopefully I can trellis this baby up soon. Hoya Chelsea is another cutie. I love the leaves on this one. I love that cupped, ruffly leaves. It's so beautiful, such an attractive plant. This is one of my favorite Hoyas. It's the Hoya australis species. It's so beautiful. This variegation is so stunning, and the leaves are nice and fuzzy. Every time I come over to this window, I'm drawn to staring at this plant. It's so wonderful. Hoya australis Lisa is another gorgeous plant. This one is so beautiful. I love the sun stressing on the leaves. That red really pops. I only have this plant in my collection for about 2 months now, and I'm loving it. Hoya rotundiflora has grown so much this summer. I am so happy with all her new growth. I've had to add her to a trellis, and as you can see, there's even more tendrils that I'll need to add to the trellis. Now once these are all on the trellis, this trellis is going to look so beautiful with those nice odd shaped leaves. It's going to be gorgeous. Hoya retusa has grown out quite nicely. This used to be 2 tiny little cuttings, and I'm happy with the new growth. Look at this nice little tendril that is growing. I'm hoping to see some blooms soon. Hoya compacta is so gorgeous. The leaves are nice and ruffly, the flowers are gorgeous, and the flowers are quite fragrant. It smells like chocolate, which is so nice and yummy. She has about 10 peduncles hidden in between the leaves, and over the summer they've bloomed on and off. I believe she's working on her 7th bloom of the season, and it's absolutely gorgeous. Just take a look at this. Hoya Pulsiflora has been so good to me. She shot out a nice tendril this summer. I've had to wrap her around this trellis. She's wrapping around the trellis about 1.5 times, which is just fantastic. Now this one's notorious for being a difficult plant, so I'm careful with her. I actually stick my fingers in the soil to make sure she's completely dry before watering. Hoya Ilajarum was also featured on one of my recent Wax Plant Wednesdays. She recently bloomed for me. This guy used to live under a bag and she's nicely acclimated. Look at this gorgeous bloom. It's absolutely stunning. She blooms at nighttime. When she opens, it's a very strong, musky, but beautiful fragrance. And the blooms only last for 1 day. Very short-lived. Hoya calistophylla longleaf is such an easy plant. I give her lots of sun. She's in a good sunny spot and she loves it. I water her once a week. Sometimes I'll stick my finger in the soil just to see if the soil is completely dry. She's also working on a peduncle, which is quite nice, so I'm hoping she'll give us some flowers in the next couple of months. Hoya Memoria started as 2 little cuttings, and boy, has she grown quite a bit. I've had to double trellis this baby. She was getting a bit out of control, but I'm really liking this double trellis idea. It's looking wonderful. Let's get this guy to bloom. This one's a new one for me. It's the variegated Hoya pachaclata. She hasn't done anything since I brought her home, which is great. That means she hasn't dropped any leaves. I don't mind her resting and then just taking off with a nice beautiful vine next summer. My Hoya Carnosa Princess has reverted, but you know what? I don't feel like chopping her now. I'm really liking her new growth. It's quite robust, nice and thick, luscious leaves. I'm gonna leave this baby as is and see how it goes. Hoya Curtisii is such a beautiful gem. Over the winter I had a nice sunny spot. She was getting a lot of sunlight, but in the winter she did not like the intense light and heat of the summer weather. She started dropping leaves, so I had to move her to a less sunny spot, and she's doing much better. She's throwing off a lot of tendrils, so I think I'll need to propagate this beauty soon. Now you've probably been wondering about this bag. Why does she have a bag on her plant shelf? Well, it's my Kenya Komoriana. It wasn't doing well, it was struggling, and I made a comment on my last video and I received a lovely comment from a subscriber saying this plant likes it humid. So I've decided to put her in a cloche, and you know what, it's working. A lot of her leaves have plumped up, so I think she's going to be under a bag or under the cloche for the the rest of her life pretty much, just like my Hoya imbricata. Gotta keep these guys nice and humid to keep them happy. About 6 months ago, I did a video on Hoya propagation, and I had featured the Hoya macrophylla albomarginata. This is that cutting. It's doing wonderful. I actually placed the cutting on my orchid shelf under the grow light, and it's just doing great. Shot out some new leaves and some nice tendrils. Just wonderful. On my last Wax Plant Wednesday video, I featured these beauties. It's the Hoya caudata Sumatra. They live under this grow light for about 12 to 14 hours per day, and they're absolutely loving it. I'm going to keep these guys here until I find them a new home. Remember my huge Hoya australis? I decided to put it on the balcony. It was getting a bit out of control. On the balcony, it's actually doing very good. It's shot out some new growth. It does have some yellowy leaves, but that's expected when you're giving the plant a lot of sun. I find this to be a very out of control plant. It's in my vanda. I've had to wrap it around several times to keep it under control. I've actually cut this plant back before, and look at all this new growth that I've had to tie up. What a wonderful plant. Over the fall, I'm gonna definitely propagate this guy. I need to give these propagations away to friends and family because this Hoya really grows. Last Hoya is the Hoya imbricata, and this one I recently made a cutting because I absolutely love this plant, so I want to make sure that I have multiple plants just in case for the future, a nice little insurance policy. The new growth is branching and the tendril is lengthening on the cutting. Absolutely fantastic. Her leaves are just taking over the pot, which is absolutely amazing. Her most recent tendril has produced a new leaf and working on a second leaf, which is just fantastic. These Hoya imbricatas really require a lot of high humidity, so if you get one of these babies, make sure you have a cloche. Thanks for watching, plant friends. Remember to like, subscribe, and comment, and follow me on Instagram at Life of Bellina.